How long do you intend to put up with that Kash Patel character? Are you good with his airplane jaunts? Are you confident he's not drinking on the job? Are you sure none of his travel is a pretext for vacation activities like snorkeling, Olympics, and visiting girlfriends? Are you sure he knows what he's doing? Do you vouch for him? Are you willing to look at whether he lied to this committee?
That's an extraordinarily obnoxious question, Senator.
Todd Blanche facing questions on Capitol Hill. You can call them tough, you can call them obnoxious, depending on where you sit, I guess, as Democrats challenge President Trump's pick to lead the Justice Department permanently. Our Justice correspondent David Spunt reports live on Capitol Hill. Regardless of how you characterize the questions, fireworks were flying on the Hill earlier today, David.
Yeah, John, they definitely were. It just comes in spurts. Sometimes it's kind of quiet for about 45 minutes or so. It seems like we're wrapping up here. About 3 more senators to speak. Then this hearing is over for the day. But moments after Todd Blanche began his testimony today to become Attorney General and drop the acting from his title, the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, more than 3 million documents released by the department over the last year and a half, that came back. It's something that has haunted the Justice Department over and over again since the beginning of this administration, because some of the Epstein files had information that was not redacted and released victims' name. Watch this interaction with the ranking member where Dick Durbin, the senator from Illinois, tried to pin down Blanche to meet face-to-face with victims who were in the crowd.
You meet with these 10 survivors, I'm asking you on the record.
If they have lawyers, as you know, I'm prohibited from meeting directly with them. I have met with counsel for survivors, as has many people in the Department of Justice, over 30. But if they are represented by counsel, we will work with their counsel. If they don't have a lawyer, I will certainly make arrangements to make sure the right people at the Department of Justice meet with them. Absolutely.
Will you get it done within the next 30 days that each of these survivors?
I will get it done today.
Senator Cory Booker said that's just not true what Blanche said, and he should meet with the victims. Now, Blanche did tout a drop in crime across the country, also efforts the department has undertaken, John and Jillian, when it comes to fraud prosecution. The DOJ has made fraud fighting a priority. Watch this.
Last year, the department brought the largest healthcare fraud takedown in American history, more than $14 billion, and another $11 billion in total fraud in just the last 3 months.
And as we tick closer to November's midterm election, Blanche was pressed on that upcoming election fraud, and how DOJ, which oversees the FBI and other federal agencies, will handle any election fraud complaints.
Will you commit to following clear federal law and not deploying federal agents to polling locations?
I will commit to following the law, Senator, of course.
Okay,
yes.
But does that include not deploying federal agents to polling places?
I will absolutely follow the law, no matter what it includes. So, yes.
And after today, there is a waiting period per Senate rules. Blanche's confirmation vote, full confirmation vote on the Senate floor should happen sometime the first week of August, I'm told. John, Jillian.
All right, we'll be looking ahead to that. David Spunt with the latest for us from the Hill. David, thank you. Jillian?
All right, let's bring in John Yoo, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General and UC Berkeley law professor. John, how did Blanche do today? What grade do you give him, and is he going to get through this process?
Well, Jillian, I used to be in a prior lifetime the general counsel of the Senate Judiciary Committee and saw and ran many hearings like this one. And the Judiciary Committee is famous for having extraordinarily contentious, hostile confirmation hearings. You might remember hearings for Supreme Court justices go through this same committee. So I don't think Mr. Blanche got anything out of the ordinary. It's very sharply divided on partisan lines. I think the overall message, though, that the critics were pressing is wrong, that it's somehow unconstitutional or illegal or unethical to have an attorney general who's close to the president. Presidents have long appointed people who they trust closely to that most important of jobs. Ronald Reagan appointed his own personal attorney, too. John F. Kennedy, that great symbol of the Democratic Party, appointed his brother, Robert F. Kennedy. So that primary attack that Democrats are launching Mr. Blanche, I think, is just off base. What should be important is, what are the policies that the department has pursued? Have they been working? And what's Blanche's responsibility for those? And should he be confirmed based on his qualifications?
And can he operate independently of White House instruction? To your point, John, here's Senator Coons questioning him on this exactly.
Is the Department of Justice that you're running independent from the White House?
The Department of Justice, like every single department in the executive, is part of the executive. I mean, Article 2 of the Constitution gives the power of the executive to President Trump. So we certainly operate with integrity. We certainly operate in the single mindset to serve the American people and do the right thing.
What do you think of that answer?
Well, I was in law school with Senator Coons, but I think he missed the class on presidential power that I sat in. And he certainly hasn't read the Supreme Court opinion that just came down in Slaughter versus Trump, because there, the Supreme Court itself says no executive branch agency is independent from the president because the Constitution gives the president the ultimate duty to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. You know which agency helps him the most in doing that? The Justice Department. And so the Justice Department can't be independent because it helps the president fulfill his constitutional duty. He's the only officer in the whole Constitution mentioned who has that ultimate responsibility. So actually it would be unconstitutional for the Attorney General and the Justice Department to be separated in some way from the president. And that's not Trump talking, that's not Blanche talking, that's the U.S. Supreme Court talking in Slaughter.
One big headline out of his testimony was when he acknowledged that mistakes, quote, were made when it came to the Epstein files. Obviously, there's a whole treasure trove of political infighting that's beneath the surface there. It's one of the reasons why Pam Bondi was pushed out as the AG. How do you think he handled that line of questioning?
I thought his response to Senator Durbin that you played was proper. The Attorney General certainly can't meet with anybody involved with crime victims, witnesses, if they're represented by lawyers. So technically he's correct. I think the whole thing has been a disaster, actually, not just for the Justice Department, for Congress and the country. I think historians are going to look at this many years from now and say, what were people getting so worked up about this single case that had been messed up, but in the long run did not harm the public interest?
Interesting. All right, well, John, we got to leave it there.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.